Good morning, everybody. It is the 26th of April, 2024. And 2 videos ago, I made a video and I was talking about, October surprise, because normally every year, you get some sort of an October surprise, some sort of a big event, that has a lot of geopolitical repercussions on the world. And I was suspecting, and of course it still might be true, that it was the gold prices. The gold went up during the month of October altogether, I would say. Maybe towards the end of it, more than anything else. It went up drastically, probably more than has ever happened in my lifetime. Probably the rise in the price of gold. I would call that an October surprise, because that's a very that influences things. Let me just say that it influences things very much. And the signs that you would look at this, like I said in that video, it's the video called October Surprise or whatever, whatever I said on there. And the significance of that, is that it used to be that the dollar and the gold, were inverses. One would go up and the other would go down, but that's not really the case anymore. And that is a sign that the U.S., or at least the U.S. currency, does not have as much control over gold prices as it did in the past. And this big rise in the gold prices, especially in the past, let's just say few weeks, it's sort of like looking at this and say, well, what went on? What's sort of the big event? And it's not that there was necessarily any kind of a big event, and then like people putting their money into gold or oil or anything, or even buying dollar assets. It's normally a sign of some sort of I wouldn't say panic, but some sort of a safe haven, trying to find a place to invest. People that have the excess money to do so, and they would put it somewhere. And maybe it was apparently they putting it into gold, and so gold price is going up because there's less availability of it, because people are getting it, and who knows what not. But another thing, a lot of influence in the gold price, of course, and of course it's interrelated, as you probably know by now. It's not as much interrelated with the dollar as it used to be. It's not really an inverse anymore. So a lot of time gold goes up and the dollar goes up, and oftentimes, as is what's going on, the oil price goes up, and maybe one of them is affecting the other. But it's Friday, and what happened last night, very shocking. Israel finally got around to bombing Iran, and as far as the Israeli side is concerned, it was a massive bombing. Highly planned, and Netanyahu and all of his big commanders are in a bunker deep underground during the middle of the night, coordinating this plan of bombing Iran. And they said over 100 airplanes were used, lots of missiles were used. The United States, actually I wrote this stuff in notes, and I'm going off the top of my head right now. I'm so excited, not excited about being happy excited, but excited about the fact that this significant event happened, and it's devastating to be the truth, to be truthful with you. And it's not like a happy excitement. It's a excitement of this news. And but anyway, the United States was very much involved in that, and I believe they've already been putting out that they were contacted by Israel, that Israel is attacking Iran, maybe in the middle of the night, who knows, whatever. Biden is in Delaware on vacation. Probably too cold to be sitting on the beach eating ice cream, but he's on a vacation, as everybody knows, most of the time during his presidency. And of course, he's a lame duck anyway. But of course, Kamala Harris is not the one carrying carrying any responsibility. So in this case, it's probably a little bit more left to, obviously, Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense. And of course, he was just in Kiev. So there might be some sort of a thing related with Israel and Kiev. You never know. Or maybe it's completely, I would never say completely, but maybe it's not as related as some people may suspect. However, what was put out like one day before this attack is the United States had sent a lot of Air Force personnel into the area. I think Qatar, and they sent a lot of mostly F-16s. So they put like a big squadrons and things, a lot of assets, a lot of military assets were moved to the Middle East. That one was coming from Germany, and I'm not sure, it wasn't from, I've been to some bases, and of course, Rhein-Main and now I've even forgotten the names. The one by Kaiserslautern, Ramstein, and then I've been to Hahn Air Base, which doesn't even have any aircraft, and a few other. I've been to some little bases there that are very small, and they're actually just communication things where they intercept messages and things like that, kind of like spying on people. That's, believe it or not, in northern Germany, which is not the American district. They have little air bases up there too, and army bases, by the way. But let me say, okay, so they sent a lot of this stuff to the Middle East, a lot of assets. And not only that, if you look on Dave's site he's got a site, and it's called From the Other Side Chat, and doesn't have that many members. I don't think he's trying to get a lot of members, and as you know, Dave and I obviously had some kind of a split, and it doesn't mean I dislike Dave or have anything against him or anything like that. There's a lot more positive things about Dave than negative things. And one of the things is that site that he has, even though it's a chat site, it's one of the best I know of. And there's a lot of things that I have no interest in whatsoever. Hockey games and maybe food from rich people's restaurants or whatever, and things about not really the weather, but like some, and of course a lot of that might be true, but it's like nothing I can do about it. Like maybe if it is true that maybe some cataclysmic event like the Earth turning over in its axis and things like that, you might be interested in that. I don't know. But anyway, on his site he was mentioning on there that there were 10 Air Force tankers in the air, like maybe even 12 hours before this attack began. These are refueling aircraft, so they are there to refuel jets and things. And Israel even announced that they used over 100 aircraft, and of course that's not counting the U.S. aircraft that are involved in that. Let me hurry up through this tunnel here. I don't have the certain view on to show you the things that I'm walking towards. But anyway, they had a lot of aircraft involved. Obviously, Israel has a lot of F-16s and F-18s, and of course quite a few F-35s. And they used over 100 aircraft, and they were sending missiles into Iran. And I was thinking when I first started reading this, wow, whoa. And but we've all heard about the Iron Dome and all this, and you see that a lot of things from from Iran or wherever, they get through to into Israel. So the Iron Dome is not really that effective after all. So let's just walk up here. But anyway, there's a big Zal up here. But it seems that this air defense system of Iran, and a lot of that is domestically built. They made it. So it's not anything that they got from Russia necessarily, or from the United States or anywhere. But it looks like it shot down most of that stuff from Israel. There's film footage about this, and they show that Israel was sending missiles, and these were obviously ground-launched missiles, and you see like swarms of them, 5 of them coming. Somebody was filming this. You see them coming towards Tehran, and that could, of course, thwart any sort of a system whereby they would sense maybe a missile or two, and then they would send up something to respond from it, and they wouldn't get all of them. However, it looks like Iran's system actually did get a lot of them. So that is amazing. And somebody was filming Tehran after this missile attack and this attack by these airplanes. They were panning over the Tehran skylight at night, which a lot of this attack was going on at 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe their time, I guess. and there was no fires or nothing. So it looks like Tehran is largely unharmed from all this. Very interesting, very interesting. So besides that, let's see what else. Let me go through some of my, I don't know, I should put this on pause just to see what I've missed and a lot of things that I haven't been talking about. But as far as, you know, what's going on with the dollar and all that, something that to keep in mind is, well, it's in my notes, but I may not be able to say this as well as I wrote this, but Israel, you know, the project of Israel, you know, beginning in the 1800s, the late 1800s, you know, it's a Zionist project, of course. You know, that's the whole idea of this, you know, the Herzl, and it was through the Balfour Declaration, and then part of this, I've talked about that before, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and it was created by, you know, some of the richest people in the world, and it's like a project, and it's obviously these people are there to make money, so that's a primary reason for that, and maybe it was because of oil then, I don't really know, but Rothschilds, of course, are the royal family bankers. They used to call it the Queen's bankers, but of course the Queen is gone now. But yes, and the Rothschilds they have ownership in almost all central banks on planet Earth. And there's going to be some interesting news here, you know, and you can consider this. You can connect the dots yourself because it's very significant. And they even have part ownership within the Russian central bank. However, they have very little control of what the decisions of the Russian central bank. Very little control. And, you know, of course, I lived in the Caribbean, and of course they have control, most of the control over that bank. And the United States Federal Reserve, they have a lot of control there. And, you know, you have Goldman Sachs and a lot of other people that are very big influencers, or the Rothschild family, the Rockefeller family. But there's one bank, and it's kind of a significant bank, one central bank, and it's one of the very few on earth that the Rothschilds do not have control over, is the Iran Central Bank. So that is, you know, if you think about that, and it explains a lot of the actions of a lot of these people, you know. And you also have to consider that if you're an American politician, and maybe a politician in a lot of countries, if you are not pro-Israel, you have no chance. Your political future is dim or non-existent. And you can see that. You can see that in all politicians. There's maybe one exception, you know, or a few, very small, but these people are probably people that have to struggle a lot. You know, is that Ilhan Omar, you know, from Minnesota? That's interesting that she can survive. And Cynthia McKinney, remember, they got her booted out of the Georgia, you know, congressional seat, and, you know, the race, I guess, altogether, one time, and made her life very difficult. She had one of the crimes that she was guilty of is she was once on one of these ships, you know, that were trying to block a former Gaza blockade. You know, Israel does this perpetually for decades and decades, you know, anti-Gaza stuff. And of course, you know, the goal is to get those people all out of there, make their life so miserable that they will leave, and then, you know, Israel takes over that land. But anyways, Cynthia McKinney was on one of these boats, and I guess she was guilty of a crime of bringing crayon coloring books to the children of Gaza. And of course, the Israelis raided that ship. I don't know, I can't remember if people got killed. Definitely people got injured. And but they were able to thwart the Israelis, you know, because I think they were landing them from helicopter, you know, and repelling onto the deck. And yeah, but of course they stopped the ship, and they're ramming the ships to make sure that nothing gets to Gaza, that these people don't get food, they don't get medicines, they don't get anything that everybody else takes for granted or needs in their daily life. It's really terrible what they do, and it's a testament to the Palestinian people, you know, that they can actually resist this. And, you know, maybe that's why they call this the axis of resistance or something, you know, and the Houthis, Western Yemen, are helping them out, and all of this. But also, I have to also mention that simultaneously, Israel also attacked Syria in some places. And even the reports in the past days, I mean, they have been doing some massive bombing of Gaza mostly. And there's the last hospital, I forgot the name of it, but they have even moved in on this hospital and attacked it, bombed it, and any men inside, you know, they separate the men and the females, and nobody really knows what the fate of a lot of these people are. But of course, they strip them, and in most cases naked. And some of the patients, they can't walk, and you know, they're injured or very sick. And those people, they also had to get out of their beds and were forced to go outside, stripped naked and kneel down in the sand, and you know, get their hands tied behind their backs and things like that. But like I said, they say it's the last operating hospital in Gaza. So that's really something. And there is some photos. I don't even know who took those photos. Oh, they're doing some kind of construction over here. Somebody pounding on something. If I didn't mention the time, it's like it's before 9 in the morning, and I had to get out early and do this. I really have to study today. Really hard class, and mostly we're going over grammar, not really communication. So it's and it's just way too much. I don't even know, you know, even though it's very, very informative, I don't know if it's going to help me that much really in speaking Russian or getting around. If I got out of the class right now, it would have amounted to, even for the fact that I had learned quite a bit, the result would be that I didn't really get that much. So I have to stay with this, and hopefully a lot of the things that I'm learning is going to you know, help me out in the future. But as I say, it's sort of difficult because it's massive amounts of information, and you can't possibly remember all these verbs. And then there's some verbs, you know, there's like at least 50 ways to spell the verb, you know, based on, you know, if it's plural or singular, if it's masculine, if it's feminine, if it's neuter, and what tense it is in. Is it past tense? Is, you know, Russian only has present, past, and future, but actually there's two pasts, and there's different ways to make the past tense. It's very, very confusing, you know. And part of that is also is it is it going somewhere, or is it in a place, you know? Depending, that determines on how the verb is spelled. Oh my god. Anyway, very confusing. And the problem is, the more you learn, the more you want to reject this language altogether, because it's so incredibly complicated. You know, I don't know, maybe it's probably on a line with Latin or something. So where was I leaving off on this stuff? I should probably put this on pause and then try to go through some of this information that I didn't talk about yet. I can maybe just kind of spill through here, and let me think. Well, maybe I'll do that in a minute. But there's another person in Congress besides Ilhan Omar from Minnesota. There's Thomas Massie from Kentucky. You know, that's the same place that Rand Paul is senator from. Thomas Massie is a congressman, and he is another person that does not really associate with Israel so much, and I think he's kind of doesn't really like what Israel does. And he did an interview not long ago. I guess also I have to mention his wife died not long ago, and there's some people trying to make it look like he had something to do with that, you know, but they were high school sweethearts, you know, been together for a long time. The couple had been together, like, I don't know, 30 years or whatever. So, and I don't think he had anything to do with that. But of course, you know, when you have enemies, political enemies, they'll do anything to try to sink you. And but anyway, Thomas Massie, he did an interview, and he was talking about how all these people in Congress, most all of them, and I think he believes that he is one of the very few, at least for Republicans, the very, very few that do not have an AIPAC guy. And it's normally what it, it's like a babysitter, which is the, American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. I guess that's what that stands for. And the United States, and of course who designates the money is, of course, the House of Representatives, which is Congress, which is, Massey's a part of that. So these people are the ones, the Congress is the one that decides on where the money is allocated. And so, but, and then of course it has to go through the Senate, and then it can be, the checks and balances and the three branches of the government, blah, 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 and that sort of thing. And, Biden has to approve, or the president does as well. But anyhow, he does not have an AIPAC guy. And it's, which is amazing that he actually could survive for more than one term in Congress. And who knows, maybe he's going to be booted out because you're not going to get any funding. And as you know how the money gets allocated, there's always a $4 billion loan, which is not a loan. It's designated as a loan, but it's not a loan because Israel never has to pay this money back. And of course, I've mentioned this before, and I got to keep harping on this because it's so important. And it goes to Israel, and a lot of this money comes back, and of course it buys congressmen, and it buys all sorts of things, And that's why everybody is lining up and desperate to be part of the AIPAC conference every year. So many people, Donald Trump included. Donald Trump, I don't know how much money. I'll tell you how that probably works with Donald Trump. There are supporters of Israel, and they are part of AIPAC as well, and they are Republicans, and for a large extent, they support Donald Trump, and so they give money to Donald Trump's political campaign. And, some people are dumb enough to think that Donald Trump is paying for it. Oh, he's a billionaire. He can pay for it all himself. Well, he's not doing it, The vast majority of that money is not coming from Donald Trump's pocket, although some of it is, believe it or not. That's actually a good thing about Donald Trump. So he's paying some of this out of his own pocket. And he lost a significant part of his fortune when he started to run for president. And then when he left office, he was, I believe, I don't know if it was 1/3 or 60% poorer than he was when he went into office. And if you look at some other people, like say Barack Obama, he became fabulously rich. I think he entered office, he had like a 2-point-something million, and then when he left, he had 28 million, Barack Obama. So he got very rich, And then you hear this stuff about the Clintons. Oh, we were broke when we left office. Broke to the Clintons is, we can only afford one chauffeur instead of our regular 4 or whatever like that. And then of course they were stealing, as you all know, the furniture from the White House and probably selling it, like maybe George Washington's chair or something like that for, who knows, maybe $500,000. And and then they had the Clinton Foundation, which was nothing more than a huge money grab. And as you know, I think it was Norway, they when they had that earthquake in Haiti, they donated, I think, 20 million, and that's just one. And what was supposed to happen? They got a lot of donations from a lot of people, and they were supposed to build 500 homes for the people that lost their homes, the Haitians, and I think 5 homes were built. And instead, they built with a lot of that money, they built a luxury resort for rich people. And anyway, the Clintons got very rich, from the Clinton Foundation. And when Chelsea Clinton had her wedding, I guess it was more grandiose than the royal family's weddings, So, and I think Bono from U2 was, was one of the entertainers there. I mean, huge amounts. I mean, millions of dollars for her wedding. Anyway, that's just a side note. And I got myself distracted like I always do. And I can't remember what was I even talking about. Oh, this money in AIPAC. So this is just a disaster. It's just a disaster for the American system. And I'll tell you what, when this money controls everything, the system is not going to live. It's not there for the people. It's there for the super rich and the elites to make money. And this whole thing about these wars, that's part of that as well. And you see what's going on now. I'm sorry about this. This is a rant, mostly about the American system. Being from the U.S., it's just sickening. And then when I'm coming over here to Belarus, the system is much different. And fortunately, most everything here is done for people. It's done for the majority of people, and there's probably a little bit of this favoritism and things like there is everywhere, but it's minor. And but in the United States, they're not doing anything for the people. This is all for the rich people, to give you money for running for political offices. That's primarily the goal. And then most of that money, of course, as you all know, goes through the military industrial complex. That's one of the biggest ones. So Joe Biden said, I don't want to escalate the war. I don't want to escalate this war. Oh, there's an election coming up and all that. Well, I'll tell you what, they don't care. And they don't care how many people die. They do not care. As a matter of fact, there are some people amongst the super rich that they want people to die. They want as many people to die as possible. And preferably, the ones that they want to die are maybe the people like, say, Russians, or Arabs or Muslims in general, or else, even a lot of the people in the States, what they call the useless eaters, and they let these drugs come in, and those people may be inclined to take drugs, will get to take drugs and they'll die, have miserable times. I don't really know. That's part of a theory maybe some people can use, why they're letting these drugs come in. Of course, they're making money on that too. They're involved in that. Oh my. And just like the weapons trade, I think it was Ben Swan, he was a award-winning reporter in Texas at that time through one of the Fox affiliated news outlets, and he was the one that exposed that the US government was heavily involved in getting weapons into Mexico, and in exchange, these, because I think it was through the Sinaloa drug cartel, and the Sinaloa drug cartel would let was sending drugs. They're a drug cartel, and the Americans were letting the drugs come into the United States, and and obviously, so say, well, what is the U.S. getting out of it? What are those people that are facilitating this? So what are they getting? Because they're sending the weapons, and then the drugs are coming in. But guess what? I guess it's who is actually selling these drugs, who's getting the drugs, and who's making the money on these drugs. Big money, just like weapons, the weapons trade. And this is all about money in the United States. And that's the system, and that's terrible. When you think about it, what is it? The money is the root of all evil. Boy. And in the American system, that looks like what's going on there. And if you stop to think about this stuff, it's like it's doomed. It's just doomed, And then they just had this BRICS conference, and Slava Boga, thank God that Alhamdulillah, that it's this is rising, and that this is a much different system. And of course, what do they say? Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come, or something like that. Anyway, there's a little expression like that. And of course, this is very badly needed. And a lot of these people, as you see, like not just Gates, Bill Gates, and a lot of them, Soroses and all that, they are making so much money by destroying life. Basically humanity at a time. And along with that, this is a lot of information. Sorry, it was kind of a rant, I have these notes, and I was planning on reading this. I didn't read any of these notes, and I'm probably missing a lot of this information that I would have want to put out. But if you guys want to also look at something, and this has been in the system for a long time, about what is going on. This is a system, and it's what it was called by what was it? Ooh, not Fidel Castro. Mussolini. This was called fascism by him. It was called the marriage of corporate money to government power. And then that was like in 1919, where he established a fascist party in Italy at that time. And another significant indicator about this sort of thing happening is, and you can even look at Bretton Woods and all of this, and how this stuff is all, this stuff has been coming for a long time. But there was a speech done by one of the most decorated war heroes in the United States history, which was General Smedley Butler. And there's a history there which is incredible too, that you'd never really hear about. It's not going to be taught in any history classes by any professors in the United States, maybe in the West, virtually at all. But anyway, you can get a book. It's very small, very small. Some people can read it in half an hour, but it's mostly based on a speech. And it was called like War is a Racket. And he called himself a, what was it? Not a slut, but he was a prostitute for this system. And this was in 1935. So this has been recognized for a long time. And what he was saying, he was talking about the military-industrial complex. And the one who invented that word, of course, was Eisenhower back in his farewell address. And he was talking about the military-industrial complex and how he was fearing that it was going to take over the U.S. system. And of course, it certainly did. And you can see that it was on its way even during the time of Smedley Butler, when Smedley Butler was saying that even those that make leather boots for this combat soldier, these people were making money hand over fist. And this is what it's all about. They don't care about lives. They don't care about anything. This is all about making money. Terrible, 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 at the cost of lives. And that's what I'm just kind of saying like this. And then, then you have these people. What was this this organization that Bill Gates' family was involved in, his parents, and he is part of, and he's even come out and said it. There's so much of this. Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, some of these people have a goal, and they think that the solution is to eliminate a huge portion of humanity off the face of the earth, and I guess that will increase the playground of the super rich, and maybe it's like a reset. The Great Reset. Maybe it's like a reset, and then they can start kind of over again, and then there's not enough resources for everybody. I don't know, You might even say, if you think very coldly, like the World Economic Forum does, oh yes, we are for humanity and for saving people on Earth, by resetting the system. However, you can say Harari, who is this lieutenant of Klaus Schwab, and I think Klaus Schwab retired. I don't know. Harari is actually very much one of the ones that really are in control of all of this, and he was saying, that the future is non-human, and the whole goal is to get humanity out of control of it's like, what the heck? Isn't he a human? Why would somebody like this, I mean, and this is not difficult to figure out, why would somebody like this be against humanity staying in control, and probably, how I would say would be doing it in a humane way, to preserve the environment and everything. Why would they not want that to continue? And the secret is just what I just said. It's to make a lot of money, but it's for them, a very small percentage of people, to get super fabulously rich, have very comfortable lives at the expense of everybody and everything else. Gosh, and I'm sorry that, talking like this, it's like a summation of how the world really works, and this should be a very significant video for a lot of people. If some people are able to express themselves in this way and to say the truth, and a lot of people do, you look at, who is the, Russell Brand, he says pretty much the same sort of things, and maybe even Jimmy Dore, and to a large extent even like George Galloway. He has maybe a little bit of different view on it, but of course it's almost the same thing anyway. A lot of people have this what's truly humanitarian view on things like that, and they don't, the other side, the Klaus Schwab side, Bill Gates and all this stuff, they don't give a they don't care one way or the other about any people except maybe their little clique, and they would probably stab each other in the back if they had the chance to, Anyway, the multipolar world has a lot more humanity in it than the system that is still, to a large extent, in control of the world and what's going on today. So we have to all hope that this multipolar world has a lot more success in supplanting what's going on, what's going on right now. And I'll also add to this, this transatlantic partnership that Obama was trying to push through. That's pretty much the same thing. That's, this corporate money and government power combining together. That's what that was all about. That's what that was all about. I don't know. I've talked about examples of that. This is a huge rant. I could probably go on for another half an hour about all this kind of crap, about what's going on. And Obama. There was one sort of I think it was an audio recording of Obama. I've mentioned a lot of this stuff I say in a lot of videos, here and there. But Obama said at one time, if the American people were told tonight what my plans are for America, they would all be rebelling in the morning. And what I've just explained in this video, and a lot of you already know this. I'm not trying to act like I'm some sort of a person that knows more than anybody else, because most of you already know this stuff. And I'm hoping that I was able to, in this video, to be explaining this a lot better, maybe in a way. I mean, maybe you guys can share this with other people and see, and it's not that, like I said, not that I'm the big grand master of knowledge and knowing all this stuff, but I just don't like seeing what's going on. And I'm sure most of you that watch my videos feel the same way. And it's like more of a warning, we have to save each other from all of this crap that's going on. And one good thing for me is that I live here in Belarus, and a lot of this, the leaders here, they do not have the same views of those leadership in the West that don't really give a crap about the people. They care about, like I said, helping their enablers, those people that give them the money to hold their offices and continue their life of privilege. Very selfish people. And it's too bad that a lot of the people here in Belarus even, and I'm going to be talking about this in some future videos. I haven't so much yet, but a lot of those people in the West, through Radio Free Europe and Voice of America, and these are CIA-run projects, they have used propaganda to convince a lot of Belarusian peoples, how bad their government is, and that all the problems, not all the problems, but most things that are let me rephrase all of this stuff, that I have to start off with the assumption by their side that their life in Belarus is so bad, and it is so bad because of the government here and Russia and this system. And they're told that life is so much better over there in the West, and a lot of them believe it. And a lot of us that come over here, from the U.S. or Australia or anywhere, we come to this place, and we say, well, gee, this is really nice. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry at all about anybody jumping you and robbing you or raping you, in the middle of the night. There's no homeless people running. There's no drug addicts all over on the streets. And it's just so much, and it's clean. And I can say in detail, and I really should. I should make a video explaining why this is, and what is the difference between this place over here, and what's the difference between that place over there. And so many of us, there was a guy from Germany just a few days ago in class. He's actually here to learn German as well. I don't know what he is. He's maybe in his 50s or stuff, and he can't believe it either. We were talking to a Belarusian person that works at the school, and she's sitting there, looking like she can't believe, oh, it's so much better in the West. And that's the viewpoint from most all these people. And all of us from the West are coming over here, and we're saying, what do you guys, what's in your head? And the people in Belarus think, well, why would you come here to Belarus? It's like they're thinking that life is so bad over here, And then all of us coming from foreign countries, that includes even Africa, by the way, we come here and we say, well, why do you want to go to the West? Why do you want to go over there? Oh, do you want the system over there to try to encourage your children that they were born the wrong gender and that they have to get a sex change, or that you have to work so hard and spend most of your money just to pay the rent? it's you know, in the end of the day, you know, the living standards to the large extent are not any different over here as they are over there. And there's a lot of the times it's even worse over there. There are people living over here that came like from Ireland, and you pay rent, but you know, you're not paying rent for the apartment. You pay rent to have the bed for 12 hours a day, to sleep in a bed for 12 hours, and there's another person paying rent, you know, for the same little cubbyhole room that they're paying rent for that bed for another 12 hours of the day. And this is like in Dublin somewhere. So that's where some of your rent money is going, just to sleep in the bed. Makes you wonder if you have to keep changing the bedclothes every day. And where do you store this bedclothes? I mean, it's terrible. Just to have a place to sleep, and you're working for that. Ah, man alive. So anyway, sorry for this rant, but it's just a terrible thing, like I'm saying. It's probably gonna be a real long video. It's gonna say, 40 friggin' minutes. Woo! But anyway, it's talking about this war starting. You know, what's the response gonna be? You know, if Iran has a response, you know, I didn't get to the fact that Israel does a lot of these things on a Friday. You know, part of the reason for that is, you know, has to do with this banking thing that I didn't even talk about. Like I said, I have notes, didn't read them, but they do these things on a Friday, these big significant events. And it's Israel mostly, and I don't know, maybe in the States or whatever. It's because gold trade is shut down for the weekends, because if this happened within like an hour or two, the gold prices would shoot up so high that it would make your head spin, and it's already gone up so much in this month. So that's what I was saying by saying that one of the October surprises is probably the price of gold going up, you know, and you know, like I said, related to the price of oil. And if there is a major war starting, Iran can possibly and probably will shut off the Strait of Hormuz, and then things are really going to happen. You know, gold prices, oil prices. It's really that's what's going to be the significant. And when these people, and I just explained to you very well, money is the big deal. But I guess what? They're going to be investing in all this stuff too, because they know, based on their actions, even though it's negative events for their side, so to speak, they're going to make a lot of money from it. So I don't know. So maybe this having it done on Friday, maybe it's a time to adjust. And of course, maybe they're sitting there wondering, will Iran attack? It's a risk. Or if they won't attack, in any case, there's a good chance that the gold prices will be going up anyway. Maybe in what does it say? In anticipation, maybe, of an attack from Iran. You know, a counterattack. It's going to be interesting in a way, but it's terrible. It's terrible, terrible for all of us. Anyway, so I got to end this video. This is just way too much. I tell you what, I didn't want to do this video at all, you know, because I have this rush and I got so much. I got all these verbs and crap to go through, and I'm just doing this right now because this was such a significant event, and I thought I should, you know, fill you guys in on this. So anyway, you can write a response and tell me what you think of the video. And like I said, I only want to be doing this maybe just once a week on Fridays or something, but this significant stuff. And well, I guess that's it. And I got to thank you guys very much for joining me, and you know, like supporting me by watching these videos, and maybe send it around to people, you know, get the word around. You know, it's just flattering. It's not that I want money out. It's flattering, you know, if more people watch the video. So anyway, thanks again, and have a good weekend, if that's possible. Bye-bye.